youtube.com/openupyourmind101.
Today, I have a very honored guest with us, brother Professor Griff. What is it that inspired you to get into martial arts, period?
The best way I can probably answer that question would be this. The government programs that monies are allocated for in the government, and community leaders take advantage of those monies that are there. So they set up programs at the youth center or the school, or they set up nonprofit organizations just to keep young people busy. Well, I decided I'm not going to play baseball, football, and basketball, and I decided that I was going to go and study martial arts, and that's number one. Number two, I feel I needed the discipline. That's the other thing, simply because that's one of the reasons why I ended up in the ranks of the Nation of Islam as an FOI. I felt I needed the discipline, so much so that it was going to take a little bit more than the cadets and the Boy Scouts and all those things that I participated in as a young man to help get me right as far as dealing with what I was dealing with on the streets and in the home. So the martial arts thing served as a way to discipline myself, self-control, and then on top of that, just basic self-defense and something to do as a young man during the summer. So, but my mom seen that I was very good at it, and other people have told me, so I started going into tournaments. And surprisingly enough, I was doing very, very, very well. I didn't mind the bumps and the bruises. I was in the streets as it was, so I didn't mind that. But so from the tournament aspect of it, I started teaching it just as a neighborhood thing, and then they gave me a room at the youth center, and then being in the ranks of the nation, I just kind of turned it into what we know today as the S1Ws in Public Enemy, the whole ideological thing that Public Enemy served as the basis for the philosophy and the ideology of what Public Enemy was about. The discipline of not only being in the ranks but martial arts. You still see it, on stage when we perform. Right. So I just kind of carried it over because, martial arts is it's a part of your life. Once you study and you get into the discipline, it becomes part of your life. It's just not something you do to exercise and lose weight or to stay in shape. It's a discipline.
Okay. Well, since you brought up the S1Ws, can you kind of give us an idea what the concept is? Because there's a lot of us who heard Public Enemy over the years, and we heard the term S1W, security of the first world, but we didn't actually know what the concept behind it, where you get the name from and what you had to do in order to be one of those. Can you elaborate on that some?
Yes, sir. The S1W is the security of the first world. Our philosophy basically is we know and understand that we are first world people. Even studying our brothers and sisters who fought the oppressor, I'm talking about the Zulus and the Mau Mau and Yasatiwa and a lot of the warriors and the warriors that fought the oppressor. There was a certain discipline there. So when we talk about being first world people, we have to know and understand that we are the original people. So we kept hearing third world, and we were like, no, we're first world people. So our philosophy is we secure the fact that we are first world people, and this is what we teach. Of course, taking the military drill of the fruit of Islam along with the discipline I've learned in martial arts and combining the two and using that for instead of dancers on stage. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A lot of our open enemy, when they write about Public Enemy, especially myself, when they want to try to, denigrate us, and myself, they want to write us in as dancers. But that's cool too, because in the martial arts, the form of martial arts called capoeira, they dance too, but it's a deadly, sacred dance. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Because those brothers was dancing, but they were tying knives onto their ankles and their elbows and their wrists, because we had to hide the fact that we was practicing under the watchful eye of the slave master and their children.
Right, right. Now,
so
brother,
no, go on, brother.
I'm sorry. I really didn't want to cut you. If you were finished, I wanted you to finish your thought, though.
No. Go on. I'm good.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I learned, because I don't get to. I get to hear through your lyrics the power of your intellect, but I didn't know your great depth of history. Like I heard you on the Gus T. Renegade show and some other shows talking about that. For myself, I study a lot of different history. I study Black history, African history, and things like that. I see you have a knowledge of Black history as well as I would say Black warrior history. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said history is best qualified to reward the researcher. What kind of history do you think is best for our people to get into now to help us to deal with the oppressor?
I think, first of all, every great philosopher that came taught to know thyself. Right. Any discipline that you're going to take on, you have to do a great deal of studying and knowing and understanding the history of that particular discipline. If you got sick and you went to the doctor and you came in, the doctor's not going to automatically tell you to lay down and start operating on you, is he? Right. Or is she? No. The doctor has to ask you your medical history. What's the history of your family? What kind of illnesses run through the family? And then basic question he has to ask you, what's wrong? Right. How can I help you? How you feeling? And then he might have the nurse do some basic things, taking your temperature and checking your pulse and this kind of thing. But nonetheless, when the doctor does what the doctor does, he'd have to ask these basic questions and do the history first. Then, based on the history and case study, that's when he can determine a remedy and a solution for the ills that will affect you. Right. So the best thing in any discipline, you have to know the history. So I would say for the brothers and sisters out there, you got to get a knowledge of yourself. Right. And I know it sounds like a very simple saying that you might see on a bumper sticker or a T-shirt, but trust me, it's a lot deeper than that. You can't do anything without knowing the self. Right. Right. You can't do anything without knowing the possibilities and the fact that you have to go into the self and pull out what you need from the self. For example, with education, if you look at the word education, the root word to education is a Latin root. It's educare. That's right. Meaning to draw out of. That's right, to draw out. So you're drawing something out. You're not going to school to put something in. Everything that you're going to need to complete the God self is there in the self. All we need is a curriculum to draw it out of the self. Right. So if you don't know yourself, you don't even know if it's there to draw out. That's right, brother. That's right. And I find too often that people, first of all, a lot of our people are rejecting education in general, but definitely not wanting to know thyself in this so-called post-racial America that we're living in. That, some people would try to make us feel like, because I feel like it's not a post-racial America. I feel like that's something that the media made up, because I know that, we still get stopped by the police as a black person. We still get, looked at in certain ways, and department stores as a black person. It ain't really nothing changed. It's just that we got the ability to integrate and marry, other races at this particular point. But other than that, and not be looked funny by those who are also doing that. So if you don't have a knowledge of self, then quite frankly, it's just it's impossible, I think, for you as a black person to really navigate through this society. But so let me ask you this: what inspired you to get into that consciousness? Was it was it you coming into the nation when you was younger, or what inspired you to study and know yourself? Well, I've been in the nation for a minute. I was in the first resurrection. Oh, right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir. So I've been around for a minute. I know a lot of people look at me like, I think the thing that I cannot take the credit for that, brother. That's the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on how to eat to live instead of how to live to eat. You understand what I'm saying? I know some people like to stick their chest out right now and take credit for it, but I can't do that.
Right, yes,
no. But I think the thing, my father being Blackfoot, Native American, studying and understanding the history of the Native American people and the many tribes, not only my father's tribe, which is Blackfoot, but the many tribes, on how the tribes, if nothing else, had a very basic thing in common, is that we had the same oppressor.
Right.
And studying tactics and strategies on how to work around some of the madness. Now when I go and I meet other people from the Blackfoot tribe, none of them remotely looks like me. Not at all. Under no circumstances do they look like me. They don't even look like my children.
Wow.
So Chancellor Williams was correct in the destruction of black civilization. How that in that whole region there, and it spread abroad.
Right.
That the complexion of the rulership of the people would and did change. It's very critical. So, turbulent times, growing up in the 60s. Yeah, you better have a knowledge yourself to get through the madness, because there's so many tricks and traps out there laid out for the average black man dealing with racism, white supremacy. It's a shame.
Right.
And
yes,
brothers and sisters that have stepped forward, that have came up with solutions, but we see what happened to them. So, no, go on, good brother.
I'm sorry. It's just that what you said inspired the question. Because since I've been on this network, I've been trying my best to deal with that. I've been dealing with a lot of people who say, people from my era, people from your era, leaders, they were here, but they didn't really do nothing. And I'm sitting there like, are you crazy? If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be where you are. Can you please speak to those who get on and criticize all the black leaders from our eras and say that they had good ideas but didn't do anything? Is there something that you could say to those brothers or sisters?
It would take me about 3 hours to do that, but nonetheless, I think I could sum it up in about 3 minutes. First of all, I don't even know why you even entertain that. But since we're in a medium where it's set up to entertain those particular kind of ideologies and thoughts and suspicions, I could say, then let's entertain it. What leader are they talking about? They cannot be talking about Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali set some things in motion that served as the basis. When I started studying Noble Drew Ali's teaching, I started going back into certain aspects of the real, true history of America, of Spain, of Europe. And I asked a question in the class that I teach on Wednesdays. I said, if America was established in 1776, this was their homework assignment, by the way. I said, if America was established in 1776 and George Washington took office in 1789, what was America going through from 1776 to 1789? Who were the presidents that occupied the presidency during those periods?
That's a good question.
So with studying and understanding Noble Drew Ali's history, those are the kind of questions I was asking myself and going after the answer. That right there alone is enough that should satisfy some of these naysayers. I call them people with the lip service, internet gangsters and cyber thugs. Right. So just that alone, just quickening the spirit in the self to wake us up is what Noble Drew Ali did. Then I can move forward past Blyden, past Toussaint Louverture, past what went down in Haiti. I could go right on up, and we can start talking about Marcus Garvey. Past W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass. We could talk about Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey mobilized black people to the point where we were organized, we were disciplined. And Marcus Garvey and the UNIA said, listen, we could get physical ships and go back. You know what that said to my brain when I read that? I says, wow, other people that come to this country have dual citizenship. Irish people can go back to Ireland.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Jewish people can travel back and forth to Israel. And I think that's what black people in America should be able to do. We should have two passports like they do. We should have dual citizenship. This is the thing that Marcus Garvey set in motion in my mind and in my spirit. Then we can move on up to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What leader are they talking about? Because I could give a class in a history of all of these leaders that did something for our people.
Right. Yes, sir.
Not to mention the great work that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad did on the level that he did it, but I could mention local leaders that have put things in motion. I could talk about the Black Panther Party, not only the food program, but just the idea of self-defense.
Right. Oh, my God. See,
so you might want to redirect them to me. I don't mind talking to them. My phone number is 678-557-2919. I'll talk to them all day long.
Brother, I'm so glad you're here because I don't understand it. And down to the foot soldier, the average brother or sister who joined the movement and sacrifices family, sacrifices life so that somebody can have a better quality of life. It's so many people on this network just taking the time out to slam every leader that came during our era and even during their era. And I just don't understand it because I know from putting miles on my feet. I've been a member of the Nation of Islam since 1991. And that's nowhere near as much time as you have, but at the same time, I've been a lot of places. I pounded a lot of streets. And I've seen members of other organizations like the Moorish Science Temple, like, Dr. Yorkin and the Wabians and stuff like that. I've seen them out there on hot days and cold days, and I just can't understand how you could sit there and say, well, they didn't do anything for us. I've always been of the mind that it's the people that did not get the message. What do you think?
It's very, very difficult. Unless they lived under a rock over the last 30, 40 years, I doubt it very, very seriously that they did not get the message. Just when I meet people, and I'm not saying it's being heady or high-minded. Please don't take this the wrong way.
Yes, sir. Yes,
when
sir.
I meet people that don't know who Public Enemy is, that are 10 years younger than I am, I'm shocked.
Yes,
if you're 40, 41, I met a sister the other day, 42 years old, and she says, now, who are you? I'm Griff. I'm in a group, Public Enemy. We do socially conscious, politically conscious music, yada, yada, yada. Will be. Oh, I've kind of never heard you guys' music. Are you guys on iTunes? And I'm like, I just started chuckling. Some people came to hear Public Enemy. Some people came to see Public Enemy. Those that synthesized the two and experienced what Public Enemy was about, beautiful. But if you're 42 and you've never heard anything about Public Enemy, seen Public Enemy, heard Public Enemy, or just got an inkling of an idea who we are and what we've done, shame on you.
Yes, absolutely.
Stop that.
Absolutely.
So when people talk about leaders and they have done nothing, I basically ask those people, I said, cool, I'm going to answer that question in a minute, but what have you done?
Right. Right.
And then on top of that, why don't you name me some leaders people that you consider leaders, and tell me what they've done.
Right. Excellent answer.
Listen, I had a library that I was building for my oldest daughter. I had 3,000 books.
Oh, man.
My house burned down in 2008, and I lost all of that.
Right.
So when I started building my library again, I wish someone would ask me that question. I could easily turn to this shelf over here and go and see Dr. Ben's work.
Yes, sir.
And I could mention books that they should have read. I could look at Drusilla Dundee Houston's work. I could look at Dr. Suzanne's work, Blackout Through Whitewash. I could point to the Suppressed Rebellion. I could go through Sheikh Anta Diop's work, Dr. John Henry Clark's work, Ivan Van Sertima's work, George G.M. James, Walter Rodney. So please, when they talk about leaders and brothers that contributed to see that we advance as a people, they need to stop for a minute and reflect back on how they got to where they are today. Are you following me?
Right. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I have another brother here, and he's a martial artist. He would like to ask you some questions. He's a
Mm-hmm.
brother that's sort of a partner of mine. Brother Khalil, are you there? Hello, Brother Khalil? He must be on, what you call it? Oh, well. He's a brother that is a founder of an organization that's just like the Guardian Angels. And it's called Together We Stand.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting ready to come in, my brother. Hold on a second. Yeah, bring him on in. Brother Khalil, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, brother. I had a little difficulty with my mic. So, alaikum to you, brother.
Well, Islam was good.
Oh, how you doing, Professor Griff? Brother, first of all, let me say that I pay great homage to you and what Public Enemy did as far as raising the consciousness of the young black people in the 80s. And, Muslims were out there doing their thing, and you had different black organizations doing their thing, but when you and Chuck and Terminator X got down and brought it to Beth Stuyvesant and launched it out throughout the world, you really changed a whole generation, and I applaud you for that, brother.
Brother, all praises due to Allah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And also, Professor Griff, it was mentioned to me, I realized that you were training a lot of these brothers and also doing a lot of training yourself, and I was just curious of what type of training did you do to get your brothers together and get them ready for the battle when you had to go out on the streets?
Well, what we used to do is, of course, the first thing is meditation.
Yes, sir.
And some of our elders had taught us at that particular time is the meditation is the way you receive the energy back from the Creator. The prayer is the energy you send out.
Oh, I never heard that.
So you meditate to pull it back in.
Okay.
When you send it out, you have to at least be prepared to receive it, and that way you receive it is meditation. And the second thing we do is breathing. And that's the breath of life. You have to breathe. The more oxygen that the body can take in, the stronger the spirit. Not stronger the body, stronger the spirit, because everything comes chi, the energy.
Yes. Yes.
And then to be a well-rounded martial artist, you have to be humble, and your aura has to be correct.
Yes, sir.
Go deeper than that and say your chakras have to be aligned, and you have to be in tune. See, we use the word in tune, but a lot of us don't look into what that really means. You have to be in tune. You have to tune in on the correct frequency. So you have to have the chakras aligned, the aura has to be in place, the breathing, the spirit has to be correct. The physical thing, brother, is the last thing. You understand what I'm saying? That's the cheapest.
I got you.
That's I've seen little guys my height, Chinese and some Orientals and some Spanish brothers, man, knock some big people out.
Yes, sir.
It's the spirit. And I know a lot of times when they see little guys, they're like, wait a minute, this guy is a black belt and breaking bricks and flipping people and knocking people out? They're like, yeah, I mean, no, go on, brother.
I'm sorry, if I might ask, Brother Griff, who did you have the privilege to train with in New York? Did you get a chance to train like the masters?
There is a brother that studied under a Japanese instructor, Korean instructor, Japanese and Korean instructors. His name was Erskine Matthews. He took total of what he learned, and he put a system together called Kesugen.
Okay.
And he came in the hood, and he taught the brothers and sisters in the hood. Did he set up a physical school somewhere? No. In somebody's backyard, in somebody's basement, at the youth center, however we could get it. Because to go to a formal, traditional Korean or Japanese school, we couldn't afford that. He churned out some deadly martial artists. So in that, using that as a basis, I went on to study Wing Chun. I went on to study White Crane. I went on to study Wushu, which you see in the Public Enemy show. Some of the things that I do on the Public Enemy show. And then I went on to study Aikido, which, to me, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would have started out with Wing Chun and Aikido, and then to Muay Thai boxing.
Can you please tell us why, brother?
I think because Wing Chun gives you a firm foundation and to understand your center line and really protecting yourself, especially with close quarter fighting.
Right.
I think being that I'm only 154 pounds at 5'5.5", 5'6", I think wrist locks, elbows, knees, takedowns, and that kind of thing, I think it would serve me better being that I'm, the height and the size that I am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's cool, but you might not want to do that stuff on the street. Oh, yes, and I think other martial artists hearing this conversation would appreciate it also and definitely understand, especially if you've dibbled and dabbled into these different kinds of martial arts, working out with other people. You know the benefit of it. I've known a couple of people that actually switch styles midstream. They'd be at a ground level in Goju or something, or Taekwondo, and experience working out with someone that studied Wing Chun or Aikido and switch styles.
Brother Drew, are you there?
Hey, peace to you, brother. Peace to you also, Professor Griff.
Oh, give thanks. Peace to you, good brother.
Okay, Minister Wood, I just like to add a comment. I actually had the pleasure of being into one of Professor Griff's lectures on April the 23rd when you was in Dallas. Professor Griff, I was a brother in the Black Panther uniform sitting next to you. So
okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right, that was a very, very good lecture, and you spoke about all these hidden symbols, and I just like to testify to a couple of things about the brother. The intelligence level is very flattering, to see brothers who done sacrifice themselves to teach others and to carry on. And I like to just give thanks to you, to the Creator for you, and just send you some thanks also. And one other thing I just like to say, whenever I think about someone that's standing up for the people, it's always been the group Public Enemy be the first thing that always pop in my mind.
That's right, brother.
So we like to give you just thanks for that, brother. And, because growing up, it made me to be the person I am, to stand up, to see you guys stand up. So nothing is in vain.
Oh, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. And that was our mission, to go out and raise the conscious level of our people, regardless of where we had to go. I remember I run into people at the grocery store or at the fruit stand and tell them, or at the bank, and tell me, they're like, brother, man, when I first heard Public Enemy, I was in prison, or I was at the club, or I was doing so and so and so, so I was so far in the mud. And they're like, wow. And they said, just hearing that made me think about some things and helped me turn my life around and move in the right direction. And I tell the brother, I says, look, all praise is due to Allah. I can't take credit for that. I'm doing what I think I'm divinely ordered to do, and I'm just following the instructions.
Yes,
but if I didn't have an example, if Malcolm and Minister Farrakhan and other brothers and sisters, Sister Tanetta Muhammad and Ava Muhammad and all the brothers and sisters that came before me, if they didn't set the example, Black Panther Party and the Mau Mau and other organizations, if they didn't set the example, I would never know what to do and how to do this and then filter it through the medium of hip-hop. I wouldn't have known that. Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, definitely.
I'm glad for the example. I know Fred Hampton Sr. and other brothers lost their lives. You understand what I'm saying? Just to see that we could be on Blog Talk Radio talking like this.
Right, brother, right.
It's truly a blessing, and they serve as. Do we realize that brother was 17, 18 years old putting it down like that? They were young. So we have to understand this particular dynamic, man. If it wasn't for them setting the example, I wouldn't even know what to do, good brother. So I was able to say something to touch your spirit, and that's one of the teachings that one of my elders, Professor James Small, passed on to me. It's a concept called the Insuka Sunsun, meaning touch the spirit. Tell people, hopefully I could say something that will touch your spirit to get you to move in the right direction. Minister Farrakhan said something that was very, very beautiful. He says, in this day and time, we find a lot of people not into Islam, but in the last day, Islam will be into them. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes, sir. Brother Khalil, you back? I see.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
Did you want to ask the brother another question? Brother Drew, was you
Yeah,
finished, or did you want to say something else?
Oh, I was finished, brother. I was just, like I said, that was just giving thanks to the brother for doing this mission. Like he's saying, doing this mission, and it's not in vain. It's because y'all will live forever. The things you've done and all that great stuff are gonna live forever for the generations that's coming after us. The music, the speeches, the teaching, and I would say we give all praises to the Creator.
Don't give thanks, good brother.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for calling in, Brother Drew. And I'm sorry I missed your show last night. I conked out. I was exhausted. I had gone 2 hours to another city to hit the streets. And, I'll catch your next show, brother. But, you already know that the love is there.
All right, brother. Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace and love. Brother Khalil, what did you want to ask something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the professor one more question, and
Absolutely.
I wanted to know, is there any way, or do you guys have any plans on doing something else again in the future as Public Enemy? Because you guys were so powerful over the years, and then you just, tamed it down a little bit. But I was curious, do you guys have any plans for the future of shocking the world like you did again?
Well, surprisingly enough, brother, I think, I don't know, either the people, the masses of the people are not getting information or whatever, but we've never really stopped. We're on tour like right now. If you go to www.publicenemy.com, you'll see the tour dates. You'll see the history we've been doing for the last 5 to 6 years. We've never really stopped. It's just that they stopped letting you know that we're out there. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And these distractions and these diversions, i.e., Flavor Flav being on TV with the Flavor of Love madness and the Under One Roof and the Strange Love and the rest of these non-reality shows. It's become a distraction. You understand what I'm saying? To the point where we haven't stopped working, but it's a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise simply because I've taken advantage of technology and ended up on YouTube doing these lectures to use that as a medium to reach the young people. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want y'all to think there's no opposition out there. There's some heavy opposition out there.
Right, brother, right.
And it's mainly adults that just don't have a clue. And I get calls all the time from parents who's like, what can I do with my son? He's into this hip-hop stuff, and he's talking about this, and I heard him mention the other day about the Illuminati, this, because he heard one of your talks on YouTube, and yada, 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 whoop-de-whoop. So when I try to have that conversation with adults, parents, it becomes an issue because we have to not talk about music and hip-hop. We have to go back. And we have to get into the parents' history on what the parents were doing and what did the parents do to provide a basis for their child to deal in this period. Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's very difficult, brother, to be honest with you, simply because I have to have the religious talk. I got to have the dietary talk.
Right.
I gotta have the educational talk about them failing in school. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it is so difficult, bro. It is so difficult. I mean, I really could I wish you could see my countenance and my facial expression right now. It is so difficult with a parent who's 16-year-old who know Professor Griff, who's 51, but they heard me say some things and now they're questioning the parent. So the parent gets on the phone like, well, who are you that you know my 16-year-old? So that's a problem. It's a problem because, and I got to be up front and real, and I says, well, ma'am, I think your child probably was on YouTube and ran across some of my talks and that kind of thing. So are you teaching people that there's no God and Jesus don't exist and we shouldn't eat meat to keep us healthy and we shouldn't get our children vaccinated and all this kind of stuff? I said, well, something like that, ma'am, but if you'd like to have a conversation about that, we could dialogue about it. I'm not into telling you what to believe, but I'm saying to you, if you kind of want some history, I could email you some things that are very factual and you can cross-reference these things, and I don't get a call back.
I imagine.
Well, brother, you mentioned, brother, that your house burned down. I heard you say that on Brother Gus's show. Can you speak to that as what happened, and also like I mean, that had to be a devastating loss to you, because I know I have information in my house that I don't know what I would do if it burnt down. So is there any way for us to preserve our information, and what really happened behind your house burning? Like, was it just an accident, or did something happen to you?
No, I was at Long Island University with my friend Black Dot, who wrote Hip Hop Decoded.
Oh, yes, sir.
He had just introduced me, and my phone was blowing up in my pocket. I'm like, y'all have to excuse me. So I answered the phone, and so a couple of my relatives are on the phone screaming in the phone like, your house is burning down. I'm like, how do they stop playing? I'm about to do this lecture. They said, no, seriously. And I was getting like 5 and 10 phone calls, and, the fireman that showed up at the house, he knew my family, and he was the one that called my sister.
Right.
Because when he went in, he started seeing Professor Griff, Public Enemy, and documents and plaques and this kind of thing. And he says, wait a minute, it's Professor Griff's house. And he called my sister. Then they called me. So I wasn't even there. But when I got there the next day, the technician that tried to light the gas ended up in the hospital.
Oh.
By the time I got to the hospital, guess what? He was gone. To this day, I don't know him.
Wow.
Don't know his name, don't know what he looked like, because when I had an investigator investigate it, they said no such person works at Atlanta Light and Gas.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay. But if I wrote that down, along with the window of the car that I was driving in from California, from LA to Vegas getting shot out, if I jotted that along with a few other personal physical attacks, you would start to see a conspiracy kind of thing going on. And if I introduce you to the officer that told me he's going to ask his supervisor to be taken off the Professor Griff case, if I introduce you to him and I wrote all these other things down, you would sit back and say, wait a minute, something is going on.
Right.
What's going on is you're just too powerful, brother. That's what's going on.
I'm able to link into brothers like y'all, and the people are listening, and they're saying, wait a minute now, enough is enough.
Exactly.
Just the whole idea of the vaccination program is H1N1, which we all know was a hoax for the implantable biomicrochip.
Right. Yes, sir.
And you need to know, I think Biggie said that.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Professor, but do you know you can also waiver that vaccination? You don't have to have your children take it. There's a document online that you can...
know that, and I know that. But try telling that to Deborah Williams, whose daughter and son are 14 and 15, who's in love with Drake and Nicki Minaj. Who sneak on the computer at night to listen to Professor Griff and some other people, and their mom and dad ain't going for that. They don't want to hear that.
That's right, brother.
Yeah, but that document, a lot of people need to be aware of it, because that's just how they're poisoning our children. Basically, that vaccination, you don't know what they're putting in you, and it's not necessary.
But you know something, brother? Contrary to popular belief, Dr. Whitaker in his book Medicine, 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 he's telling us what's in the vaccinations, and he gives you the website on where to download the refusal form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually have that, and it's actually just a general letter that you put your child's name on and yours, and when you present it to the school, they have no choice but to accept it and say thank you, welcome.
But you know something? You can go to www.educate-yourself.org. www.educate-yourself.org. Go to vaccinations, click on it to roll over property. It'll bring you to another page. Go to the refusal form. It'll show you the printout of the refusal form, and it'll give you the history of every vaccination and what's in it.
It's basically the immunization exemption form.
Exactly. So there's ways around this. There's documentaries that are out that you could see on YouTube, like a documentary that's out called Shoot 'Em Up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They linked autism to these vaccination programs, and
of course.
Oh yes, sir.
Secret.
That is outrageous, and not to mention all of these kids coming up with all these birth defects with their children after the fact.
Exactly.
Well, brother, when you teach on these kind of things right now that are in the now and are life threatening, do you find that most people accept this, that they are willing to accept it, or do you see that they want to act like it doesn't exist and you're just trying to scare them? Because for myself,
brother,
when I try to give out that, I'm sorry,
they fight me tooth and nail. I can't get them to get past my pastor, my reverend, my doctor, my lawyer, my butcher.
Wow.
And I'm like, come on.
Suspect.
Difficult.
That's so wild.
So I'm speaking now to my son's generation. My son just 21. I'm speaking to him and his friends.
Right.
They're half my age. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, because my peer group, they refuse to listen. Maybe they're stuck in their ways, but it's killing them.
Right. Yes, sir.
This way of life, this thinking, this spirit, can you imagine, brother, if we had never met these people on the other side of the fence? Can you imagine the heart rate? We would have a normal heart rate.
Right.
Can you imagine how beautiful we would look if we never ate this American diet as opposed to a holistic live it? Can you imagine if we never thought these thoughts that we're thinking now, how healthy we would be mentally and spiritually?
These are some good questions. Yes, sir.
Can you imagine the purity in thought, in your speech, your action? If we never came in contact with these people that brought our vibration down to the lowest level, can you imagine never being introduced to homosexuality and bestiality? Can you imagine every single day being called by a name that's in tune with the frequency of the planet? Instead of Bobby and John and Richard and all these corny names that don't speak to anything. There's dead vibration. There's nothing living in that. Can you imagine if we would have stuck to the dietary plan that our ancestors gave us, which talks about in the Holy Quran and the Bible?
Right.
Can you imagine if we stuck to that and live it instead of a diet?
You know what, Professor Griff?
Beautiful people.
I mean, it reminds me of how people dress. The way you dress has an effect on your attitude. And listening to what you just said, basically when people are educated, it's like putting on clothes. And if you put on something that's sporty and sweaty, then you act that way. If you put on something that's sharp and you look good, then your mentality changes to fit that. And you're right. If you put poison in someone's head, they put on that personality. If they didn't have a chance to taste that poison, it's like putting on a brand new suit. They're going to come out sharp with a brilliant attitude.
And we see the end result of this with the educational system. The worst thing my parents could have told me was make sure you go to school and get a good education. Now, parents that are listening to me said, oh, see, this is where we go wrong right here. He was doing fine. Can you imagine you a beautiful butterfly and you take your children as beautiful butterflies, you take them pick them up and get them dressed, feed them Captain Crunch and Frosted Flakes in the morning, which is the wrong food, and drop them off at the crab school? So by the time you pick them up in the afternoon, you got little crabs. They once were beautiful butterflies. But the crab school, is teaching them against their nature.
Right, right.
As beautiful butterflies, we can never do what crabs do.
Brother, our time is running out, and I wanted to ask you about some of the brothers, the younger brothers in the industry, and they come off as conscious, and I know you're still in the industry, so I don't know if you know these brothers and what your thoughts are. First of all, I've been listening to some songs by the brother by the name of Jay Electronica. Do you find that brother to be a conscious brother in the wake, or is it something that, I know a lot of people have used consciousness in the past to sell records and then go to the other side, but then there's some people that really mean it. Do you find him as a brother that is really in tune and is conscious?
I think he was once in tune and once had a degree of consciousness, but now is the time to display it, and I'm trying to find it. So you on stage with a drink, and you're talking about, how high you're going to get, but you're spitting some conscious lyrics. I can't make the connection. So I think, like a lot of the other brothers, are confused. And I've experienced that with a good friend of mine, Nas.
Right.
I was trying to follow him at one time, but I can't seem to follow him because he won't make up his mind.
Right, right.
I will hear something very conscious, and then I'd hear Uchiwali. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And so we part-time. Like, for example, I met a few people recently. They still hold on to their slave masters' names, but they're conscious and they dress up in consciousness.
Right.
You just talking about the dress, right?
Right.
We're talking about the miseducation of the conscious Negro.
Right.
They look conscious, they sound conscious. At places where they have cross-contamination going on, i.e. the Waffle House. They'll have a name with Muhammad at the end, but they'll have about 4 or 5 other English-sounding names before that, and an African nickname.
Right.
Or they're so pro-black, they're so blacker than blacker than blacker than blacker than black, with an African name. They're in Islam, but then you go home and they have, a white wife.
Right, yes, sir. Oh, my God.
I'm trying to follow that, and it's very confusing. It kind of throws me off. Can you imagine a squirrel hooking up, like, with a rabbit? You can't follow that. So some of these rappers come off like Common comes off to be conscious, but he's not conscious, because I think your words should match your deeds.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So a true leader and a true teacher is words and deeds. Conscious behavior. And I don't see it. I don't see it. Unless using the term conscious now gets you a pass. Because no one's holding you accountable.
Right, yes, sir.
See, this is the miseducation of the conscious Negro.
Right.
So you dress up in it when you go out to eat with people that you know are conscious, then all of a sudden your diet changed and now you want to eat couscous and like incense. That's not conscious.
You know what I believe, Professor Griff? That a man ain't never really got to tell you about himself. His character should speak for itself.
That's the proof of it all. Watch a man and watch his character. Sometimes when I talk to these people, I hear the intonation in their voice, and I'm like, something, they not even serious.
Right.
Exactly.
They not serious. And I experienced that with a couple of these brothers. Turn around, I end up seeing them on beer commercials and, promoting. They know they shouldn't be promoting. I'm like, come on, man. For example, Snoop was just at Savior's Day a couple years ago.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, the brother, even if he don't join the nation, fine, I don't mind that, but come on, at least hip some brothers, some cats in the hood to it, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Seems like it got worse.
You know, Professor, speaking of artists and people that do commercials and stuff like that, I really feel that every time the white man puts our people in a commercial and he wants them to promote a product, most of the time that's a product that's going to hurt our community. A lot of times when they want to promote good products, they use white people. But they want to promote beer and Old English and wine. They're going to get a person to do it and get them to sell us out.
Well, we need to understand that particular dynamic simply because they haven't stopped using the same trick. It's still tricknology.
Exactly.
They're using the same trick because it keeps working. Until the day we say, no, it's not going to work this time. That's the only time that they're going to change that.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And the other time they're going to change it is when we own our own stations where we can kind of put our own commercials on.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, we stopped streaming. We stopped streaming live. So, brother, would you like to give the people your information as far as how they can contact you or your website information, stuff like that, because we're about to get cut off.
All right. They can call me directly at 678-557-2919, or they can email me at ProfessorGriffPE@gmail.com. That's ProfessorGriffPE@gmail.com. You can go to www.publicenemy.com or headquarters.com, or go to my site directly, www.professorgriffinfo.wordpress.com, or just put my name in Facebook, Professor Griff, or the ex-minister. It'll come up. I'm there.
Okay. All right, big brother. I am so glad that you've joined us today. You're such a humble brother. I'm so grateful to Allah. You don't know how much so many of us idolize you. We look up to you, and we're grateful to Allah that you're still here, and you're still trucking and fighting at 51. And I pray to Allah I look that good and sound that good at 51.
I'm a reflection of you, man.
You have a great day, brother.
Please thank the sister, man, and tell her I really appreciate her staying on point, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do. We'll do.
YouTube.com/openupyourmind101